Hello everyone, and welcome back to another tutorial video. In this video, I'll be showing you how I got the blurry effect of the lighting on the ear of Mike Tyson. Now, I'm sorry that I don't have any footage of the ear drawn up until this point. However, I will just quickly explain exactly what I did, and it was actually quite easy. So all I did was take some charcoal powder with a medium to small size art brush. It's the blue one, in fact, that you see in some of my other videos. And I just created a very basic outline using pretty much just the charcoal powder and the brush. Now, the first step that I'm doing here is I'm using the kneaded eraser and just creating some little small circles into that charcoal powder just by dabbing it, as you see here, and it's just lifting off just that little bit of charcoal powder. So every few circles that you create using this kneaded eraser, I'm pulling it back and reshaping it into a little small circle again. Now, what you're seeing here with this BM2 factis eraser is a technique that I'm kind of just coming up with on the spot right here. And all I'm doing is I'm pressing down on the ear and lifting right up for circles that aren't as light. Now, for circles that are a little bit lighter, what I'm doing is I'm pressing down and turning just a little bit. So to only take off a little bit of charcoal powder off the page, I'm pressing down and lifting up right away. And of course, I apologize for making you guys look at the back of my head like this, but bear with me. So as I was saying, to make a circle that is not quite as light, I just press down and lift off. And to make a circle that is a little bit lighter, for example, I'm taking off a little bit more charcoal powder than for the darker circles, I'm pressing down with the eraser and turning a little bit and then lifting off. And if I want to make an even lighter circle, I press down, turn a little bit further, and then lift off. So it's really the turning that can dictate how light or dark that blurry little erased circle is going to be. Now sometimes you're also going to see me go in on top of these little circles with the brush, and what I'm doing is darkening it back up a little bit. If I've taken off a little bit too much, made it too bright, what I do is just blend it a little bit back into the ear with the brush and then go back in with the eraser and make another dot. I've got to say, this part of the drawing was, I would say, by far the most satisfying, by far the most fun and relaxing part of the drawing. Like, it feels like you're a kid working on some simple art project. Like, it doesn't even feel like you're even doing anything particularly technical, because you're just dabbing the page with this little tool and pressing down and turning and lifting back up. It's such a simple concept, but it just was exactly what I needed to create the exact effect that I was looking for in this case. So I'm just going to be following along with this process here until about the 11-minute mark. If you guys want to just keep following along. So I'm also going in with this charcoal white pencil as well, and adding some definition to some of the existing dots and also creating some new ones. You notice that some of these blurry spots um, aren't solid white dots, and some of the blurry dots, like the one that I'm working on right here, are too white to achieve with the previous technique of pressing down, turning, and lifting. So I'm just creating little circles with the charcoal white, which of course goes down really smoothly on top of the charcoal powder layer that I laid down initially. Do not try to use this tool, General's charcoal white pencil, on top of graphite because it's not going to work. It only applies directly to the paper or on top of charcoal, and I find the thinner the layer of charcoal, the better that this pencil will look. It tends to look a little bluish on top of charcoal unless it's a really nice thin layer of the charcoal powder. So in addition to using the charcoal white pencil to create these little dots, I'm also going to be adding some highlights in terms of the lighter tones on the ear. And you can see an example of me doing this right here. I'm just building up a little bit of this white charcoal layer to make these lighter tones pop just a little bit more. And you'll be able to see multiple examples of me doing this. Now, it's the part of the ears that are closest to you that I'm building up this lighter tone on top of, actually, which creates more depth and more range of value, which is what is one of the largest components of realism, is having an accurate representation of a wide range of values. So now's the time to go in with some graphite for some finishing touches, and I'm just adding a little bit of definition around these lighter spots that I created earlier with the charcoal white. And I'm just adding a little bit of definition around them with a 2B graphite pencil, and in this case right here, this green one is a 4H pencil. So I find sometimes the lighter pencils actually do a really good job with blending in the charcoal if you add a thin layer on top of the charcoal actually. And this Faber-Castell Pitt Oil pencil that I'm using here is an absolutely brilliant tool. It performs pretty similarly to an oil-based black color pencil, and it goes on super smooth on top of charcoal, and you can almost use it to blend in that charcoal as well, and it just adds a really smooth additional layer on top of the charcoal. So essentially what I did earlier with the General's charcoal white, in the sense that I was building up the lighter values and highlights of the brighter parts of the ear, is what I'm doing here, except with the darker parts of the ear. So I'm adding yet again another wider range of values using this oil-based Pitt oil pencil. And I find that it actually lets you go a little bit darker than the charcoal would go, and it also goes on a lot smoother. So between this tool and then the charcoal white tool that I used earlier, there's a huge range of values being demonstrated here, and it just adds to that level of realism, because like I said, it's that range of values and that accurate representation of those values that is one of the strongest components of photorealism, in fact. So I'll just be following this step, building up those darker tones. with this oil-based pencil for the remainder of this tutorial, and I appreciate you guys for following along. I appreciate you guys for supporting me towards my journey to becoming a full-time artist, and I hope you guys learned something. Please let me know if you have any questions about any of these techniques that I talk about in these videos. Leave me a comment, send me a DM, leave me some questions, and I'll be sure to get back to you. And of course, if you have any recommendations for future videos, be sure to send me a message about that as well. Thanks so much, and I hope you guys all have an amazing day.